For a look at the day's top business news, and Brian Quinn from our Business Desk joins us. Hello, Happy New Year, Brian.
Happy New Year.
And we're starting with a look at the French economy as we head into the new year. 2020, obviously an incredibly difficult year, so the big question is, what's 2021 going to be like?
Well, we're hoping it's going to be better. Probably not a full recovery, but we'll have to see, of course. Total economic output here in France fell by 9% in 2020. That's the country's worst result since World War II. The latest predictions from the Banque de France are calling for a partial rebound in 2021 of around 5%. That return to growth will be gradual as consumers are likely to stay cautious. French households are expected to save an unprecedented 200 billion euros this year. 2021 will also be critical for small and medium businesses, many of which are teetering on the edge of bankruptcy. Some 50,000 French businesses are expected to go under in 2021. That's likely to mean rising unemployment. The rate there expected to hit nearly 11% in the first half of the year alone. And the real results, of course, will depend on how the epidemic plays out in the months to come. And that, of course, will depend on how many people get vaccinated here in France to allow a return to some semblance of normalcy in our economic life here.
And next, it's a big day for the European auto industry, I understand, Brian.
It is indeed. Shareholders in the French PSA group have voted to greenlight a merger with Italian-American Fiat Chrysler. The deal, cleared by EU regulators in December, would create the world's fourth biggest automaker, Stellantis. The stakes are high both for management and factory workers. Camille Nedelik has the story.
The merger between PSA Group and Fiat Chrysler is set to create Stellantis, the fourth biggest automaker in the world, with a workforce of over 400,000. The new company will be headed by PSA Group's Carlos Tavares, who could have a bumpy road ahead of him. First, he must ensure that personnel from different countries and brands learn to work together. And he'll have to juggle over a dozen household names such as Jeep and Vauxhall. Tavares has a reputation for cost-cutting, so ailing brands could get the chop, meaning job losses. Stellantis will switch to the same design for the underside of all its cars, saving billions in engineering and manufacturing costs, but also inevitably resulting in the loss of both blue and white-collar jobs. Italian and Serbian workers have reason to be particularly worried. Their factories are running at 60% capacity or less. The Italian government lent over 6 billion euros to Fiat Chrysler, presumably in exchange for protecting jobs, as Fiat is the largest private sector employer in the country. Both firms have said no job cuts will be made as a result of the merger, but that doesn't mean they won't be made as a result of the COVID-19 crisis. On the flip side, the merger could also mean the transition to electric cars will go up a gear, as PSA Group wants all of its models to also be available as electric versions by 2025.
Well, investors apparently feeling pretty good about the merger. Peugeot shares are up 2.3% here in Paris, while Fiat Chrysler shares are up nearly 2% in Milan. Over on the wider markets, the first day of trading of the new year is bringing some strong gains for European indexes. London's FTSE 100 up around 2.7% as the UK starts rolling out its Oxford AstraZeneca vaccination program. The CAC 40 here in Paris up nearly 1.7%, while the Frankfurt DAX is up 1.3% so far, as new data shows European factory activity staying strong in December. Investors staying optimistic on vaccine rollouts and continued cheap money from central banks, while also keeping a close eye on U.S. politics. Earlier, France 24 spoke to market strategist Stephen Innes about what to look for as global markets reopen in 2021.
The vaccine runway is definitely a bullish catalyst. OPEC drip feeding production back to the markets is also providing downside protection for oil markets. But we've got this Georgia state runoff happening, and it looks like the Democrats might sneak in a 50-50 Senate run, and this would give the favor to the Democrats on a tiebreaker because of the Vice President Kamala Harris. This opens up more stimulus checks, but it also, which is key in my narrative, opens up infrastructure spending getting rubber stamped through Congress. And I believe this is what's driving commodity prices and oil higher this morning in Asia.
Over on the cryptocurrency markets, it's been a roller coaster for Bitcoin over the past few days. It broke new price records over the weekend, topping the $34,000 mark for the first time ever on Sunday. It dropped nearly 15% on Monday before coming back a bit to trade right now, down over around 9%. Wrong number there, but what are you going to do? The digital currency saw its price triple over the course of 2020, analysts putting the spectacular rise down to large investors seeking quick profits in cybercurrency trading. While Bitcoin has been gaining in legitimacy, recently having been adopted by PayPal, volatility is nothing new for the coin. In 2017, its price dropped from $20,000 down to $3,000 in the space of just months. And finally, for business, plastic surgery is a major industry in South Korea, and business is booming as people try to take advantage of working from home to recover from their procedures in private. Dubbed the Zoom boom, it's part of a wider global trend which has seen an uptick in cosmetic surgery, as clients spending more time watching themselves on a computer screen during conference calls might be seeing some room for improvement.
While many surgeries have been cancelled in the wake of the coronavirus pandemic, some clients in Seoul are opting for elective cosmetic procedures. For this student, lockdown was the perfect time because she could convalesce at home and hide behind her mask during recovery.
내년에 백신이 나오면은 마스크도 벗고 다녀야 되는데 그런기 전에 지금 수술을 하면은 가장 적절하겠다고 생각이 들어서 지금 수술하게 돼요.
South Korea's cosmetic surgery industry is worth over 8 billion euros, and Seoul is the plastic surgery capital of the world. Korean citizens spent 10.6% of their stimulus checks, worth around 11 billion euros, in hospitals and pharmacies. While it's not possible to know how much of that was on elective cosmetic procedures, clinics say they've seen a jump in business. One plastic surgery app saw demand surge by 63%, and requests for consultations have doubled.
약간 보복 소비 같은 느낌? 이게 억제돼 있던 것들을 그 소비로 뭔가 표출한다는 느낌을 일부 좀 갖고 있어요. 그래서 뭐 이제 부위도 한 부위 시술할 것도 두세 부위를 동시에 함으로써.
The boom isn't just being felt in Korea. A website of registered cosmetic doctors in the UK saw a jump in traffic by 40%. And doctors in the US also say they've seen a surge in demand, in part fueled by clients seeing themselves on screen more often during conference calls. But psychologists warn against focusing on external appearance to feel better.
Well, finally, for business, is tax evasion a sign of the times? The estate of late pop icon Prince is in hot water with U.S. tax authorities who accuse it of undervaluing its assets. The Internal Revenue Service says the executors of Prince's estate have undervalued it by a full 50%. Comerica Bank and Trust was put in charge of his assets when the star died without a will in 2016. Its accountants valued his estate at just over $82 million. The IRS, though, says the estate is actually worth over $163 million, and that it thus owes over $32 million in federal taxes. That discrepancy is due largely to differing estimates on the value of Prince's publishing interests. This summer actually saw the release of a giant box set from his legendary vault of previously unreleased material, and they say there are more to come from that vault, and that they think they said they could be releasing new Prince music for decades to come, so the IRS might have a point there.
There's two certainties in life, aren't there, Brian?
He's got them both now.
Yeah, death and taxes. Thanks for that. That's Brian Quinn with the day's business news, and that's it for this edition. I'll be back after a short break. Do stay with us here on France 24.